What's happening, Guitar Corner friends? A little bit of a new location. I'm working on some stuff in the studio, so we'll do a quick one here tonight. Number 29, I think this is number 29. On the last one that I talked about, The Genius of Tom Petty, my friend Jim Wilcox wrote a great note in there and reminded me of something from that Zola book that was probably the essence of everything songwriting-wise. And, you know, other artists have said this, but I think Tom Petty proved it. If a song is strong, you should be able to do it just on a guitar or piano. For rock and roll, it's a great test of where the song is at. And if the song's going to drop down and do push-ups, have some cables running through it, something that's going to be timeless, that's a pretty good indicator of where you're at. Something a lens I should be throwing my stuff through when I get a little carried away on production. So I thought that was a really cool comment. Also, I didn't really mention any of my specific loves, why I was getting so deep into Petty so quickly. I've probably listened to You Don't Know How It Feels, that groove that Steve Ferrone lays down. Dude, Steve Ferrone's the baddest. I remember my man Jesse and I found out about him on 24 Nights, Eric Clapton back in the day, the live disc. It was like Hammersmith Odeon or, no, it wasn't that. Was it Wembley? Anyway, such a great record. But Steve Ferrone's a beast. I remember Nathan East was in that band too, funky bass player. But yeah, Mike Campbell's solos on pretty much everything are so tasty. Ben Montench, it just to be able to know how to play every song in the world and still come with whatever fits the song, to serve the song, the simplicity. I know this became Tom Petty's part 2. I just can't get over how many things I'd missed in those recordings. And Hypnotic Eye, one of his last records, he was 63 when he made the record. And man, there's some heavy stuff on there. Anyway, thanks for reminding me, Jim. It's a really heavy thing. So I am not going to play any kind of a song today. I had a little groove I was messing around with on this track that I was trying to finish. And I'd seen Rick Beato had put out some alternate tunings and cool stuff that I stumbled on. It reminded me of one that I ended up using on this song. I'm just going to riff a little on this. It's EAD, and then we'll talk a little bit about muting, and then I want to talk about the spirit and the soul of things. And we're always talking about finding our voice and being ourselves in music. It's something Nick Cave wrote this week that is so mind-blowing. So my show and tell is just reading you a quick piece of a letter that Nick Cave wrote. But let's jam a little bit. Here we go. Crazy. Here we go again. Let it ring out a little bit. Man, EAD, and then when you hit the just what would have been an E minor chord, you get all the suspensions. It's a nice little chord, and the harmonics work really good in this too. You could get a little groove going on that even. Last one. But yeah, that's a really fun tuning. EAD. And the trick to, I don't think this jam will become anything, but I thought it'd be a fun little Guitar Corner thing to try. The whole trick to this is the muting. We talked about this in another video, but I don't play a lot with my thumb over, so I don't use that to stop the strings. But if you want to cut into something, like you're hitting the 2 chords, but I'm immediately shutting it down. You don't want to hear that's not as funky as a hit. The second you go on the rhythm, that left hand shutting it down. I'm not doing it with my thumb or anything. I'm just palming it. And the other places when my right hand wishes it was Stevie Wonder on a clav. That's like the way I think is like, man, how do you get that funky, envelope, that crushed clav sound? That's all this palm. So you had the kind of the fingers and then the palm here. So the second you're in there, you hit one loud and then crush it. There's so much to that. If you want to cut in and hit one note on a guitar, but you want to get that rock and roll, especially if you're electric and an amp, you want to come down and really get the thing ringing, get the stage rocking and rolling, you got to cut in quick and then hold it. See, I hit all 6 strings when I went for that note, but between muting here and kind of coming down at the angle, I could get everything shut off but that note. Back, boom. So the trick is just you open and close. It's like a gate. You're making your own noise gate with your palms. And that's such a big part of the guitar. I think really as much as the notes are sometimes, especially if it's something kind of funky with the groove. This is such an amazing instrument because much like a piano, you could do anything with it, but it's also a percussive instrument. There's the short notes can be just as important as any of the legato notes. You can make the things that you're not playing notes on are just as important as those notes. So yeah, buddy. So as far as, today's show and tell is, I mentioned Nick Cave a little bit lately. His blog is blowing my mind. I want to read you something that I think probably encapsulates everything we've been talking about on the creative side. And we talk about kind of finding our own voice. And I don't even have the question they ask him here. But sometimes when answers are so incredible, the question, it's bigger than any question. It's kind of like the eternal question. I think it was, you always get these things, where do your ideas come from, or how do we get better? Or, these questions that we ask ourselves, we ask everybody. I always try to ask heroes or mentors, something about, what gets them through, plateaus. A lot of the things that we've covered in the Guitar Corners. This answer, and I'll read it to you really quickly, cuts to the heart of everything. He said, nothing you create is ultimately your own, yet all of it is you. This thing. Your imagination, it seems to me, is mostly an accidental dance between collected memory and influence, and is not intrinsic to you. Rather, it is a construction that awaits spiritual ignition. Your spirit is the part of you that is essential. It is separate from the imagination and belongs only to you. This formless pneuma is the invisible. How many times are you going to use the word pneuma this week? Nick Cave, man, is the invisible and vital force over which we toss the blanket of our imagination. That habitual mix of received information, of memory, of experience, to give it form and language. In some, this vital spirit burns fiercely, and in others it is a dim flicker, but it lives in all of us and can be made stronger through daily devotion to the work at hand. I think we just did one to say hard work takes care of you, and I talk about you just got to show up. You got to show up. So many of the things we were talking about sort of coalesced when I read this the other day. I just had to bring it in here. In my view, John, worry less about what you make. That will mostly look after itself, and is to some extent beyond our control, perhaps even none of our business. Devote yourself to nourishing this animating spirit. Wow. Bring all your enthusiasm to bear on the development of that good and essential force. This is done by a commitment to the creative act itself. Each time you tend to that ingenious spark, it's going to grow stronger. It sets afire the ordinary gifts of the imagination. The more dedication you show to the process, the better the work and the greater your gift to the world. Wow. Apply yourself fully to the task. Let go of the outcome. We talk about Willie Nelson, man. Don't just let go of the outcome. Just be in the moment, and your true voice will appear. Check it. If you want to copy this, it's on the Red Hand Files. It's Nick Cave. It was the last blog he did. So very quickly, folks, and I would love your thoughts on this. What nurtures the spirit? What keeps that spirit going? And I came down to 3 things, and we talked about 2 of them. One of them we never talked about. So real quick here. One, I think, is confidence, and that's surrounding ourselves with people. They don't have to tell us. You need people to tell you the truth. If it's not good, it's not good. But if you got somebody that's always negative, I would say weed your garden. You can't have people just hating all the time. So having some confidence is important, and we gain more confidence as we go in and we do that work. The other one is the work itself, showing up, and we talk about that all the time. You're not going to get anywhere without putting in the hours. But the last one, guitar players and writers and instrumentalists and artists and anybody who's here today, this applies to anything. We don't talk about this enough. Our health, man, when our health isn't there, it's so hard to have anything else. And that may seem like a weird thing to mention after something so open-ended and beautiful and beautifully written as what he said here. But, you know, I'm thinking about Paul Zolo in that Tom Petty book. He wrote that book, Songwriters on Songwriting. And I can't tell you how many of my favorite songwriters mentioned, you know, some of them's like, I need coffee to get going, but I can't drink 50 pots of coffee and write. Or I can't, obviously, if we're tearing ourselves up with drugs and alcohol, I mean, that's a whole different thing. We're all fighting different demons. But, you know, there's plenty of people that work very, very well for a long time, very functioning drug addicts and alcoholics. But eventually, man, the devil gets his due. But just even some things that for me, you know, with my crazy mind, I obviously got a head full of bees. I get a little too excited sometimes. If I'm working out, if I'm jogging, if I'm doing something that sort of gets the inside outside, I try to meditate. But man, I tell you, I've had a lot of ups and downs with that. But anything that gets ourselves in a place where we feel, you know, just good inside gives us maybe a little more confidence to sit there and work at our craft a little bit longer. So I would say getting up that confidence, showing up. And I think, you know, what we eat, what we drink, the things that we do to our bodies really does affect how much time we're going to spend getting better. You know, if you're 19 years old and it's your first tour, you're out there, I mean, you're going to have a good time. I get it. We got some really good club shows coming up. About to go up to Appleton. My manager's out of LA, but that's his hometown. And it's incredible up there. I'm going to drink way too much Jack Daniels after that Appleton Beer Factory show. I already know it. I'll be begging my tour manager, Tyler, like, man, I got to sleep for the St. Louis stop at B-Jacks, man. I know it's going to be a little bit of a long night. But in general, I keep a really close watch on, I wasn't supposed to become a lecturer about health, but I keep a pretty close watch on what I'm eating and what I'm drinking and stuff because it gives me more energy. But anyway, I didn't know that was where that was going to go, but hopefully it's helpful to you. I would love any of your comments. The comments are what's keeping this thing rolling, folks. Yeah, let me know what you think. Probably not enough light in here, but it's fun shooting a couple from some different locations. Yeah, I'll see you next week. Thanks for being here.